story is on page 3. On page 10, kidnappers ask our boss to choose who to kill among us if only 20 million ransom was paid. On page 3, Plateau Police arrest 9 over fresh attack plots. You also have we will resist any attempt to return Oyo to dark days after marking day. That's coming from pensioners. All right, I will defeat insecurity, poverty. That's coming from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We're ready to take in politicians from ADC PDP. Baba Ahmed, PRP national chairman, has said that. Says Tinubu's government must go in 2027. The story is on page 9. After divorce, she became a tenant in my house. That's funny. Okay, ex-husband tells Ibadan court, I contributed over 3 million naira to build the house. It belonged to both of us. That's coming from the woman. Quite pathetic. All right, let's go to some inside stories of this morning. You have other stories. Let's go to page 4 and 5. All right, the Supreme Court relief reopens ADC's path to 2027 contest. That's coming from Bolaji Abdullahi. Right, NDLEA dismantle Abuja drug bunks, arrest 132, recovers 220 kilogram illicit substances. Right, to A1 price hike. FG weighing policy options to ensure seamless 2026 Hajj airlift. That's coming from Nakon chairman. Right, let's look at other story. Benin monarch commiserate with Edo deputy governor over mother's death. 2027 Kwara APC group demands screening of governorship aspirants. All right, Ife buy only network to host boy-child conference. All right, you have that. You also have FG appoints doing Bademosi as member National Cancer Control Plan. That story is on page 5. Page 6, or your 2027 APC leaders endorse Ali as governorship candidate. Article to Tinubu, responsible government doesn't turn hunger into public relations strategy. Right, or your APC group rejects endorsement of Ali. Waste managers back Amzat for Lagos governorship site experience continuity. Right, to come to page 8. We are ready to take politicians from PDP, ADC. The story is on page 8. On page 9, ask the Dr. Page. Afternoon naps beneficial. My son grinds his teeth. What is vitiligo? There are problems with blurred vision. My daughter sleep work. Arthritis and my health, soya milk and my baby, my problem with dizziness. All right, let's come to page 10, 11. All right, on the Women, Will and Wealth page, how to build an economic umbrella for your wealth. All right, why can't Yoruba land feed on its own cattle? That's a question. All right, you also have the story there. After divorce, she became a tenant in my house. That's according to an ex-husband. I contributed over 3 million to build the house. It belongs to both of us. That's according to the woman. Man asked court for divorce, child custody. Man drags wife to court over alleged infidelity. My husband attempted to suffocate me, threatening me with knife. Blind man drags wife to court for assault. Infidelity, says she brings other men to our home. All right, let's go to page 13. Sokoto East APC top short battle, another for ticket. On the entertainment page, NFVCB identifies Kaduna as a margin hub for indigenous film growth. All right, Flaming Brothers, Terry Akpala, John Young, others light up Jameson City Takeover Ibadan edition. All right, let's come to page 19, the exquisite page. There is need to align development assistance directly with security priorities. Gift Iyoko, German study PhD researcher, said that. All right, musing on INEC, Judiciary Nigeria, that's on the SOS page there. On the page 22, intimacy page, handling sex-starved marriage. That story is also there. All right, we'll come to Page 26, I admire Nigeria's strong entrepreneurial spirit, global cultural impact. Lisa Gabel, ex-U.S. ambassador, said that Abuja declaration at 25, health equity still out of reach. Oshun APC and the oddity of illegality. All right, of course, we go to some of the sports story on Onazi wants Arsenal move for Oseme. The story is there. World Athlete Relay. Athletes are battle ready, says Okowa, as Olokpa Day lands in Botswana. All right, other sports story there. You have Iwobi still not fully fit, rules out of Arsenal clash. That story is there. And of course, I go to some stories from the Nation newspaper. The major story on the front page of the Nation this morning says Tinubu declares national emergencies on insecurity food, says threats undermine jobs productivity. Akpabio hails workers' resilience, patriotism. That story is there. You have Supreme Court judgment. PDP dismisses Wabara's claim to party's leadership. That story is there. Wike faction lashes out at Turaki's group for misinterpreting ruling. 11th Assembly, APC governors, National Assembly leaders meet over primaries. All right, that's there. And you have on page 27 or your 2027, APC leaders endorse Ali as governorship candidate. President will visit France, Kenya, Rwanda for strategic summit. My son was never violent, says mother of Delta youth shot dead by police. My God. All right, on page 2, trending of a robbery group, Kingsmen disagree over planned trial of Siraki. Delta to prosecute killer cop as residents cry out over latest killing. Police deny firing shots, attention grips community. All right, we also have the story there. On page 4, Tinubu declares national emergency on security food. Lagos state government announced 50,000 salary support for workers. ADC crisis, INEC restores David Mark as party chair. Supreme Court judgment, PDP dismisses Wabara's claim to party's leadership. And then you come to page 26, I beg your pardon, 6, 2027, National Assembly election by Jabia Mila Masari meet Akpabio governors. Party adopts Gubio as consensus governorship candidate in Bruno. Kano APC stakeholders adopt Tinubu Yusuf as candidate. All right, Amzat, the logical choice. The story is on page 7. Let's go to 8 and 9. Student loan, grateful beneficiary and wailing cynics. Governance, national ethos and succession planning 1. Ibadan summit and an opposition of quandary. All right, let's go to other stories there this morning on the Weekend Live page. Page 11, I'm still alive, only by God's grace, says mother of 28-year-old shot dead by police in Delta. Insists son was never troublesome or violent. All right, furore over Niger's gaseous emission control permit for tricycle. All right, Keke riders allege extortion, says we are only paying to avoid trouble. Yes, we'll come to other stories this morning. Everywhere, the wife of the former governor of Ogun State celebrates her birthday, and it's everywhere. That's the wife of former Governor Mosu. Okay, Saturday politics, Wike Rainbow Coalition, Fubara silence, shaping Rivers preparation for 2027. Yes, that's them. All right, why Ondo South deserves better representation. That's coming from ex-speaker Akin Daly. Delta 2027 beyond Great Oburu's personal victory. Ogun East between Benga Daniel and Dakwa Abiodun. That story is on page 23. And then we'll come to page 24. Master Chef Nigeria, Pearl Margaret emerge first contestant to get eliminated. Judith Audu's Eve begin nationwide school tour. Basketball light up Los Angeles with moral of the story. And of course, on page 27, you have the story there, or your APC leaders endorse Alia's governorship candidate. That's everywhere. Austrian 2026, Oibanji unveils 7-point manifesto of Prosper. Hashim condemned killing of pastor or abduction of worshippers in Ekiti. I didn't bribe APC leaders for House of Rep ticket. That's coming from Akim Bile Yusuf. All right, that's also there. On page 29, Tinubu to visit France, Kenya, Rwanda for strategic summit. Maiduguri stands still for Zurum Gubio. All right, Lista alumni launches Nigerian Chapter 6 greater role in national development. Former Bauchi Governor Abubakar Sik's return of government house says, I won't disappoint. That story is on page 29. And on page 30, the APC will conduct free and fair primary, says Ilaboya. Police snap 15 suspected cultists, seize weapons, drug cash in Delta crackdown. All right, police deny firing live ammunition in Orerope incident. UNDP pinned partner to drive Niger Delta investment solution. And on the sport extra page, Galatasaray slam 150 million euro valuation on a semen amid transfer interest. Onyedike rejects new contract, demand big transfer. Lampard impressed by Onyeka's humility and work ethic. All right, Lakpade changes the narrative. It will be out of Fulham. Arsenal clash. Lagos County Club fights malaria with swimming. Oh. All right, of course, those are the stories that made the headline from the Nation newspapers. Of course, Fumbi, can we quickly go to the governors?
Yes, the governors' activities. And when we return, we would unfold other activities we have on the program this morning. So please stay with us.
Delegates from various opposition political parties across Nigeria converged at the newly constructed Oyo State Government House Banquet Hall for a national summit aimed at fostering unity among opposition groups. The summit themed National Summit of all opposition political party leaders, that we may work together for united opposition to sustain our democracy, brought together key stakeholders seeking a common front ahead of future elections. In a communique delivered by the chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Barrister Tamino Turaki, participants resolved to rally behind a consensus presidential candidate. They said the move was necessitated by what they described as existential challenges confronting the nation and the need for urgent collective action to free Nigeria from alleged stranglehold of ruling party. The communique also called for resignation of the INEC chairman, Professor George Amokwita, and urged the National Assembly to urgently review the Electoral Act 2026 with proposed amendment to provisions they believe will undermine the credibility of elections.
That we shall resist all vaccinations by the APC to voice a one-party state of Nigeria and fight for the survival of multi-party democracy in Nigeria. That despite the onslaughts and vaccinations of the ruling party, the APC, to ensure that President Bola Tinubu emerges as the sole presidential candidate in 2027, we shall field candidates and contest the 2027 presidential and other elections.
Delivering his welcome address, the host governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde, expressed concern over what he described as an increasing political challenges in the country, warning that such a trend could erode democratic values if not properly addressed. He stressed that democracy thrived on viable alternatives, noting that the dominance of a single party without credible opposition risk reducing governance to a mere formality.
Democracy is not defined by the success of one party. It is defined by the existence of alternatives, by the ability of citizens to choose, and by the confidence that those choices matter. Once that disappears, what we have may still be called democracy, but it will no longer function.
their separate remarks, key political figures, including Chairman of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, Senator David Mark, and guest speaker, Professor Pat Utomi, warned that Nigeria stands at a critical political crossroads. They urged opposition leaders to take decisive steps to safeguard democracy and address the nation's worsening insecurity. They further called on opposition stakeholders to unite under what they described as a national rescue mission to protect democratic institutions and restore public confidence in governance.
We must remember how we got to where we are today. We must remember what has brought us here. We must remain clear that we cannot confront the future as fragmented entities. We must be united to be able to salvage our nation.
Among top opposition figures present at the event were former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 election, Peter Obi, former governor of Kano State, Rabiu Kwankwaso, former Rivers State Governor Rotimi Amechi, and former Osun State Governor Rauf Aregbesola. The summit also featured keynote presentations by Professor Chidi Odekalu, Dr. Usman Bugaji, Barrister Mike Igini, and Dr. Kabir Adamu. The Oyo State 2026 intended pilgrims to Saudi Arabia converged on the Olodo Arch camp to meet and bid farewell to the state governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde. The event was graced by Muslim Ummah, top government functionaries, religious and political leaders, among others. In his address, the state governor, Engineer Seyi Makinde, emphasized the need for continuity in governance, noting that the progress recorded under his administration should not be hindered by religious considerations.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. Ẹ jẹ́ ká ṣera wa lọ́kan. Ìlọsíwájú ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀yọ́ ó ní kẹ́ ẹ gbàdúrà fún, àdúrà wa sì gbà. Gbogbo ètò tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe, mo nígbàgbọ́ pé wọ́n ti ṣe. Ṣùgbọ́n àwa náà a ní sùn títí tí ẹ fi lọ, tí ẹ fi padà wá bá wa láyọ̀ àtàlàáfíà.
Governor who pledged a donation of 2 new buses for utilities and logistic movement of the Arch Board members in Nigeria and Saudi Arabia charged the intended pilgrims to be good ambassadors of the state in Nigeria and in Saudi Arabia.
Alhaji Hashim Atere, the chairman board àwọn alálàájì, ẹ ó ní bí ti yàtọ̀, ó ti yàtọ̀ díẹ̀ ló tọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni àbí bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ́. Ó ní Christian ni ó bẹ̀rẹ̀, Christian ni á parí ẹ̀, kò ní mínì lọ́dọ̀ mi. Torí pé kò sí fámìlì ẹnì kankan nínú wa tí ò sí Kristẹni tí ò sí Mùsùlùmí bẹ́ẹ̀. So anything tá a bá ṣe, a ṣe fún family o, ẹnì kọ̀ọ̀kan wa náà ni.
In their goodwill messages, the Deputy Governor, Barrister Lawal, and a former Speaker of the Oyo State House of Assembly, Senator Monsura Sumonu, described Hajj as a sacred obligation that demands discipline and devotion. They charged the pilgrims to remain focused on the spiritual essence of the exercise and to remember Oyo State and Nigeria in their prayers.
Gbogbo àwa tí Ọlọ́run wá kàyé lọ́dún yìí láti múra láti lọ sílẹ̀ mímọ́, ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ẹ̀ bóyá wọ́n ti máa wá sọ̀rọ̀ lórí ẹ̀ pé iṣẹ́ hajj là ń lọ sí o, kì í ṣe nǹkan míì. Gbogbo wa àràfà alánàbọ̀ lọ́lọ́run ṣe fún wa.
Earlier in his welcome address, the chairman of the Oyo State Pilgrims Welfare Board, Muslim Wing, Sheikh Hashim Atere, commended Governor Makinde for his unprecedented support, which he said has ensured a smooth preparation for the 2026 Hajj exercise. It is close that the first batch of the 1,036 intended pilgrims from the state will be airlifted to Saudi Arabia on Sunday, May 3rd.
Rírì gbogbo pàtẹ́ kó lórí ayé yìí. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n bẹ̀rẹ̀ pẹ̀lú nǹkan kan tí kò hàn sí àwọn èèyàn ní àjì ọdún tó lọ. Ní àjì ọdún tó lọ, processing BTA ó fẹ́ pẹ́ díẹ̀. Nígbà tí a dé Èkó láti fẹ́ gbéra, gọ́ngọ́ fẹ́ sọ ojú ẹsẹ̀ tí gómìnà ti gbọ́ ó ní wọ́n ti ránṣẹ́ wípé chairman ní gbọ́dọ̀ wà báyìí wọ́n ní mo wà ní Ìbàdàn mò ń ṣètò láti tún máa kó second batch lè kú àwọn first batch ń kọ́ ọ̀nà ń bẹ lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ọ̀yà máa lọ bí báyìí mo ti arrange fún yín àti escort tí ó escort yín ẹ lọ máa ṣètò rẹ̀ lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ gómìnà ni wọ́n rescue wa ní ọjọ́ náà tá a fi rálá láì.
Highlights of the event included Quranic recitation and special prayers offered for Governor Seyi Makinde.
All right, thank you very much for staying with us. Yes, it's time for Travelogue. And this morning, we will be talking about Zamzam water. What is Zamzam water? What is it about? Stay with us. You'll find out.
Ancient mythology tells the tale of how Prophet Ibrahim relocated his second wife, Hajara, and her infant son, Ismail, to a desert that has now become the Muslim holiest city, Mecca, as commanded by Almighty Allah. According to history, the mother Hajara and her son Ismail, who were left stranded in the desert, were thirsty and tired, and after the mother ran severally in search of water in the desert, a source of miraculous water sprang up at the feet of her son to satiate them, and this became known as Zamzam water. This water is known as Zamzam water, as Hajara called out, Zum Zum, stop, stop, as the water kept flowing. In fear, it will run out. Today, the Zamzam well is one of the most visited places in Islam and considered one of the rewards of Hajj and Umrah. Zamzam tap are located in strategic places in Haram Mosque in Mecca. Likewise, it is supplied to the Prophet Muhammad's mosque in Medina and are distributed in thousands of water containers and bottles to the worshippers. Speaking with BCOS News, an Islamic prophetic medicine practitioner, Mr. Muhyiddin Olawi, described Zamzam water as a natural gift and blessing from Almighty Allah.
Zamzam is the kind of the water you must have in your home, no matter how the amount. You must make sure that you have it. Even a breastfeeding woman to breastfeed their baby for 6 months, I will advise. It's not Islamically proven. I'm just advising people. If you want to give the first water you need to give your child after 6 months, let it be Zamzam, so that to make them to improve their cognitive aspect in life when they are facing. If you are taking Zamzam, you'll be very okay and you will be very all right when you are taking Zamzam. According to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when you are drinking Zamzam, you can use Zamzam to cure any kind of disease in your body. Let your intention be that if you want this, just spray it on the Zamzam and you can use it to drink it and use it to rub your body. Zamzam water is odorless, is tasteless, and it's also the color is just a natural one.
An Islamic scholar and former HOD, Arabic and Islamic Studies, University of Ibadan, Professor Wale Abbas, also spoke on the spiritual benefit of the sacred water.
People use it for a lot of things. We use it for ablution. That is spiritual too. It's good for ablution. People use it for ablution in the haram. People use it to quench their thirst. People use it for a lot of things. But people use it to cure themselves of many diseases. We have had practically people have used this to cure diseases. I've heard that some people who are blind, they use it and the eye came back to function. People who had cancer, we have heard that they use it to cure the cancerous part of their body. So a lot of things. Is a miracle, is a gift from Allah. So, yeah, and that is why when people go on Hajj, you will want to bring whatever quantity home. And it is said that in one of the hadith of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that when you have that Zemzem at home, all these evil spirits cannot just attack your home. That many Muslims do. I do. You can't get to my house anytime and you don't find Zemzem water. No, there is there. So that's the spiritual aspect. People use it to cure a lot of ailments. And particularly all these our alphas who specialize in what they call jalabi, they use it. Anytime they want to do hantu, they prefer it because they know better, because they are seriously vast in that aspect. They know better that it's not an ordinary water. It's an extraordinary water put in place by Allah himself, and nobody knows the source. It has no properties like any other water.
In a nutshell, Zamzam is a blessing from Almighty Allah to Mecca and its pilgrims. One of Zamzam's most outstanding characteristics is that it never dries out. Each year, millions around the world drink Zamzam water while performing Hajj and Umrah, and it is also supplied in huge quantities across the world. If you have friends or family members traveling to Saudi Arabia for Hajj or Umrah, don't forget to ask them to bring back Zamzam water for you upon their return. Olalekan Sulaiman, reporting for Saturday Special.
Corporation of Oyo State. Of course, you would agree with me that tomorrow is our day.
Indeed, it is.
Our day. So whether you like it or not, when you wake up tomorrow, just remember that tomorrow is the World Press Freedom Day. Of course, always celebrated on the 3rd of May every year. And tomorrow's celebration will majorly focus on issues around the media. But this morning, we're going to be looking at what we call, ahead of the World Press Freedom Day, State of Nigeria Media. That's what we're going to be looking at. Unfortunately, over the years, the media, nobody speaks for us. We speak for everybody and about everybody. But today, we have guests who will be doing justice to the conversation. And this morning, we do not just have a guest, we have our own personal person, our own chairman, the number one journalist in Oyo State. The chairman he speaks for us. He speaks our words.
He represents us.
Yes, he speaks our mind, and he's a man of every media practitioner in Oyo State, and that's Comrade Hakeem Abbas. He's the chairman of Oyo State Nigeria Union of Journalists, Oyo State Council. You're welcome this morning to the program.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
You didn't come alone, actually. You came with the State Council Secretary.
Of course.
Comrade Adu, we wave at you and we welcome you to BCOS, so you're welcome. Let's begin the conversation right about now. let's look at, when we talk about press freedom, is there really freedom of press as of today in Nigeria?
Well, comparatively, if you look at freedom of the press in Nigeria and other countries of the world, you will still believe that Nigeria is still a far better and fair among all the nations we have across the world. To a large extent, we've been having reported cases of assassination, humiliation, but it's very low here in Nigeria. We don't usually have it until we have people going for, the issue of poor remuneration has gone a long way to affect some of our members who now go all out to ensure that they get money to sustain their livelihood based on, and it makes them involved in so many
all right, Comrade,
unethical conducts.
Comrade, before you continue, let's take a break and we'll be right back. Please stay with us. All right, thank you very much for staying with us. We're still talking about World Press Freedom Day, State of Nigeria Media. And of course, May 3rd is a day where we celebrate journalists, press freedom, talking about press freedom and of course, activities of the press globally. And this morning we're examining, we just access Nigeria Media, Nigeria Press Freedom, how it has been like in Nigeria. Earlier, we introduced Comrade Akim Abbas, the chairman, Nigerian Union of Journalists, Oyo State Council. And yes, in the studio again this morning, we have the Secretary, Correspondent Chapel, NUJ, Oyo State Chapter, Comrade Rotimi Agboluaje. Comrade, it's good to have you.
Good morning.
All right, before we come to...
Madam Jadi, good morning.
Good morning.
Viewers at home, good morning to you.
Thank you very much, Comrade. Before we come to you, Chairman, you were giving assessing Nigerian media.
I said apart from other factors that may hinder our work in the line of duty, I think when it comes to the area of assassination, intimidation, harassment, is still a bit minimal here. Yes, we have it, but it's not as it's not much pronounced as we have in some other countries also, comparatively with Nigeria. But we have other aspects of it, which is poor remuneration, censorship, and so many things like that. We still have those ones hindering press freedom. And when you look at the FOI Act, you see that when that act was signed, we still have some states where it is not a kind of domesticated, where people find it very difficult to get stories the way they are. And Section 22 of the Constitution gave us that mandate that we should hold our political leaders accountable to the public. So if we are to do such, and some have not domesticated the Freedom of Information Act, then it will definitely hinder our work. So those are some of the areas I think we are still having issues.
All right, thank you very much, Comrade. Let's come to Comrade Agbolo Ajina. When we talk of press freedom in 2026, let's assess press freedom in Nigeria. How would you rate it? What's your assessment of press freedom in Nigeria?
Well, like my chairman rightly said, the press may not be free absolutely in this country, but by the time we are compared with other countries, even in Africa, even in the advanced democracy, we are still far better. But we have not got to where we are supposed to be. Journalists are still being intimidated, they are still being harassed, they are still being coerced, they are even being arrested. Some are even sent to jail without passing through the normal prosecution channels. But by the time you do a kind of comparative analysis, you observe that Nigeria is still better than some countries, even in advanced democracies.
Okay, I want to quickly take us back memory lane. The history of Nigerian media began with missionary journalism in 1840s, evolving from European-owned colonial outlets into a vibrant nationalistic and later independent press. There are a lot of key milestones, including first newspaper Iwe Iroyin in 1859 and the rise of indigenous anti-colonial papers and the launch of Africa's first television in 1959. I intentionally took us back. Yes, I'm sure all of us here, I'm not sure that anyone was in existence at that time, but we need to look back. So it means that long time ago, we started the journey of Nigerian media coming into existence. And now looking at how far we have been able to go over time. So I want to bring the question to Chairman. If you look at how far we have gone, 1940s till 2026, would you say that Nigeria has improved? We are developing, faster as expected.
Yes, we may not be developing as fast as expected, but definitely there is process. There is progress, and it is a gradual thing. I still believe that you can still compare the media landscape that we have today with that of the time the likes of Dele Giwa were murdered. You cannot compare it. Every day we keep improving, and we have moved away from the era of Decree 2, Decree Kenekon. Yes, now we have journalists that can go out. One thing I know is, as a journalist, that adhere strictly to ethical standards. I still don't believe you can be easily intimidated or humiliated these days. But save for some issues, because when we have the advent of all this new media, social media and the likes, I think those ones have come to further put more problem and more pressure on the journalism landscape. Because when you look at it, for instance, look at our media houses that we have today. Gone are those days when journalists were better remunerated. Or today, you see that the advent of social media, the advent of all this has brought down the economic effect. It has brought it down seriously. When you look at most media houses, how many media houses sell newspapers now? What rate do they sell them, and what is the rate now? You see that a lot of people now pick their phone, read newspapers, and forget about the hard copy.
Okay, Chairman, let's go to Comrade Agbolo. Comrade Agbolo, I would not have asked Chairman this question because he might not be the best to tell us, but I'm sure you'll be able to do justice. The challenges facing journalists. He's a journalist, I agree, but he may not be able to tell us, as expectedly, the challenges that we're facing. But if he feels that there are challenges, he may also tell us. So let me begin with you. What are those challenges that you think are facing journalists and is affecting press freedom?
Well, a lot of challenges are facing journalists in Nigeria today. As the chairman said, the first one is the remuneration, poor remuneration. Even some correspondents are not earning salary. Even those that earn salary, the salary does not come as at when due. Even the one that comes as at when due, then the salary cannot take them to the bus stop, let alone taking them home. Then by the time you convert what journalists earn to dollars, you realize that it's nothing.
Did you say just in dollars?
No, by the time you convert to dollars. Are we not in the world? We have a global economy. All of us are operating in the global economy. If we apply, we spend naira in this country, accept it. But mind you, the most powerful currency is not the most powerful currency, the most prevalent currency in the world that they use as a benchmark for other currency is still the main dollar, whether we like it or not. By the time, even some of us that apply for grant, when they pay us, they pay $2. I know you must have accessed some grants that we pay $2. Then dollars still remain one of the most prominent currency in the world.
That's the World Trade Currency. That's the World Trade Currency.
The World Trade, thank you, my chairman. The World Trade Currency is a currency of business and commerce in the world. By the time you convert what a journalist earn in this country, you realize that we earn nothing. I was discussing with some colleagues yesterday. I said you can hardly see a journalist in this Ibadan that will earn 200,000 naira. You can hardly see. Having that 200, by the time you convert that 200,000 naira to dollars, you realize there is nothing to write home about. Then poor remuneration is a major challenge. Mind you, when you talk about the instinct, the most powerful instinct in every human being is economic survival. Before you say somebody should become a responsible citizen, he must be well fed. Before you say Jesus is the Lord, accept Jesus. Those who are Christian, because you say accept Islam, stay peacefully, the person must be well fed. If the person is not well fed, he will be thinking of how do I survive economically first, before we think of becoming a good citizen. It means rule of law, good citizenship, rest on what? On a sustainable economy. And mind you, that's the first point. Another challenge that the journalists face in this country is the hostile environment. It's the hostile environment. We have a lot of laws, even some days ago, the Nigeria NBC brought out a code, that's April the 17th, he brought out a code that you must not opinionate on air. You must separate between... Ethical standard. The ethical standard accepted, but mind you, there was a time, you could recall, there was a time a court made a pronouncement, made a verdict, banning the NBC from being the accuser, the executor, and the judge. Will you be the one accusing someone, you'll be the one judging, and be the one giving out penalty. The court has made a pronouncement on that NBC should not be the one 3-in-1. Now, by the time you look at that code that NBC brought out, and on April the 17th, the code is, it will stifle the practicing environment, whether we like it or not. Although people are saying it's the right thing to do, but how do we separate fact from opinion? How do you say a journalist cannot bring out some uncomfortable question, cannot ask some uncomfortable question from people in power? By the time you look at that, the elements of that code, you realize that not all of them are democratic. Not all of them can promote this business we are doing. Some of them are not good enough. Some may be good enough. Then that is one thing. Another challenge is the issue of the ownership. The ownership. In the media business, they say 3 interests are very important: the commercial interest, the owner's interest, and public interest. Then where do you draw the line between ownership interest, commercial interest, and public interest? Now, by the time ownership interest is very critical. By the time you have a story idea, you pursue the story idea, and you've written your story or you prepare your script and the rest. By the time you want to pass through the final gate, the owner may say, that story cannot go. It affects one of my friends. Despite that, you must have wasted a lot of time pursuing a story. Probably you spend like 3-4 weeks, even 3-4 months, running after a story. By the time you bring out the story, the owner may say, come, this story cannot go, because it will affect our interests. Because this person that this story is targeting is the friend of the house. Or it will belong to the same club, rally, club, recreation clubs, and the rest. That is a challenge for a journalist. It means you are not allowed to practice the way you are supposed to practice. It means you are not allowed to express your creativity. It means you are not allowed to express your mind the way you want to express it. It means you are not allowed to to hold the people in power accountable. It's not the people in power alone. People holding any responsible office, whether in the community, whether in the church. We have the power, as my rights chairman said, Section 22 of the 1999 Constitution said that we are the watchdog of the society. We are supposed to hold people in power accountable. But mind you, our hand may be tied because of the ownership interest. That's another challenge. We have a lot of challenges, but let's just stop it there.
All right. Yes. And I think at some point where he mentioned, I think during the NBC ethics, chairman was, I don't think you were agreeing with him.
Yes, you see, I got where he was what he was trying to paint, but to me, I still believe there is need for regulations, whether we like it or not. And I think the area where they talk about opinion is like having interviews now. Yeah, you are asking me a question.
And I'm giving you my opinion.
And you are giving me, you have already put in an answer inside your opinion as if you have concluded. Then why ask me? If you have already concluded and you have the answer, you don't need to ask me again. So that is the areas where they are saying that we should not put our opinion. When you are asking a question, let the person, you want the person to say his own mind, to say his opinion. Then you shouldn't lace it with your own opinion again.
All right, Chairman, now that we've cleared the air on the NBC gagging in quotes, yes, guidelines, let's look at other challenges. But I want you to, share your challenge.
I think we should correct that. It's not NBC guidelines. They're only reminding us about
the
ethical standard.
It's just a reminder. And we must take it as a reminder so that we don't feel that NBC is actually after us and does not want us to actually be accountable.
But there are still guidelines. We still call them guidelines.
No, there is code.
A code of ethics.
Yes.
Yes, code of ethics.
Code, and they are regulating it. There is no way you have you have areas of media houses, and there won't be rules. There should be rules. And that is what the NBC is, the mandate the NBC is given to make sure that they regulate the media space.
All right,
well,
Chairman.
And they will definitely do it.
No, NBC will be the major regulator in the industry.
Yes.
They has been doing it. But while we are doing it, we must give it a human face. No, time is evolving every time. The rules that are applicable 2 decades ago may not be applicable now because the media have been democratized. I think the NBC need to look at what can work at this present time. Why not? I'm not saying no. Anywhere you have freedom, no freedom is absolute anywhere.
Are you talking about amending the code of ethics?
Not amending the code of ethics.
The current situation.
Yes, to make it align with the current situation. No society is static. No society. A society involves every now and then. Then as the society evolves, as different innovations are coming up and down, I think we need to move in line with innovation. I'm not saying the system should be left unchecked. No, even I'm one of the advocates, one of the people that is advocating.
Unfortunately, the media space has not been totally regulated. But let's not go far into that. Maybe we should also allow Chairman to give us some other challenges that exist in our media space.
Well, he has said a lot of things, and that regulation is also a challenge. But whether we like it or not, I still believe that we sat down, we made this code so that the code will not go out of the ethics of our profession. And if the codes are now being used, I don't believe there is any code that is obsolete. Those codes are still very much relevant. Take, for instance, the issue of Seun Okinbaloyi. I watched the clip. He was talking to someone, and he already assumed that the federal government, no, you don't, he was talking about politics, and he has already assumed that President Tinubu is doing something. Seriously, these are allegations. Once you have that allegation, as a journalist, you brought someone to the station, you want to interview the person. Don't tell the person that you know that President Tinubu has already committed that offense. See, you understand? Ask the person. Let the person tell you the opinion the person has. But in recent times, everybody is just defining ethics the way they like. You understand? We don't have a general that general code that we have before. We don't adhere strictly to it again. People are not changing it.
And Chairman, maybe that takes us to the issue of training.
Yes, that is the more reason why.
Maybe these are some of the things that NUJ should do for us to organize trainings and then bring MBC to further explain some of these codes of ethics to help journalists. Don't you think so?
Yes, there is need for that. And we are already working on bringing the codes. Because we have pamphlets made by the NUJ, Code of Ethics. And we already, in fact, I have some within that press center. So, and very soon we'll be sharing those Code of Ethics to some of our members so that they will definitely know how to practice the profession.
Comrade, still on this Code of Ethics, and we would not shy away from the fact that we have new media now, and it has come to stay. You know, it feels like the Code of Ethics is just around the conventional media. But looking at the new media, how do you think, you know, the Code of Ethics should, because we see a lot of bloggers do a lot of things that are really unethical, and it's so when people talk about journalism or journalists, they refer to these bloggers that practice in an unprofessional manner. So now, how do you think we should start talking about the regulation of the new media also?
I think to a large extent, Nigerians, we are very lazy at testing the laws. Cyber stalking, cyberbullying, all those things are also regulations. If I have somebody write anything on the social media against my person, I can challenge that person. The person can be tried for cyberbullying or stalking. You don't have to see all these laws and not put it into use. These are some of the regulations that can affect the new media also. Yes, there is no cogent regulation for the new media, but at least to a large extent, we can still curtail the excesses with the use of those cyber security laws. Do you understand? So I believe we can still tackle that. And from our own side, the NUJ, we felt if we allow this new media to be out there, we won't be able to, if not to regulate, we won't be able to encourage them to practice what they are doing in line with the profession. And that is the reason why we were directed to allow the new media to also have a chaplain under the NUJ.
The new media?
Yes, so that we'll be able to monitor them, to monitor their activities, and we'll be able to correct them wherever.
But when you talk of correcting them, when you talk of monitoring them, I think we should take us back to a question or a conversation that we've been having for a long time. Who is a journalist? What makes a journalist journalist? Is it by certificates? Is it by training? You know, is it, what exactly? Because now you're talking about new media, bringing them under the Nigerian Union of Journalists. That's giving them recognition now, even when they do not have any prior training, any prior understanding of what journalism is about. So who is a journalist in that light?
Well, you said whether by profession, either by certificate or by training, both makes a journalist. One, let me say, the certificate qualifies you as a journalist. If you are trained, if you study journalism, you are a journalist. If you are trained, you can be a journalist. If you go ahead to have that certificate also. You understand? In conjunction with it, according to what we have on ground. Because there is no way. When you go for all these trainings, you can be trained without knowing the ethics of the profession. when we were in school, we taught all these things. We were taught mass comm law and ethics. We were taught media laws. So if you know all those things, you don't need to be trained on that again when you go out there. But recently, when you see most of the people we have, you see we don't have gatekeeping any longer. We have a lot of people venturing into journalism, and some encourage themselves to have that certificate. They go for trainings, they go for all those things. Why some will never? They won't go. They will just sit there, continue doing what they think they can do best, and in the end, they will be running foul of the ethics of the profession.
Okay, I'd like to take us through this. Press freedom in Nigeria, constitutionally guaranteed, but practically challenging. With the country ranked 112th out of 180 countries in the 2026 World Press Freedom Index by the Reporters Without Borders, placing it in the difficult category, while recognized under Section 39 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Journalists face frequent harassment, arrest, and violence, particularly during protest, despite a slight improvement in ranking. Now, this is where we're going. 2027 election is around the corner. There are build-ups, and whether we like it or not, a lot of journalists are going to be having issues, challenges. If we're not careful, there'll be casualties ahead of this election. Now, what are we doing when journalists are harassed, maimed, injured? What are the plans on ground ahead of this period? And this question may also still come back to the chairman.
Well, I think some days back, we were in Abuja for the National Executive Council meeting of NUJ, and I know that 3 committees were set up when we are doing the NEC session, and the 3 committees were strategic planning, the welfare stroke, let me say monitoring. That is also a committee, and I am a member of that welfare committee, which the president himself is the chairman of that committee. And what the committee is mandated to do is to look at the cases of harassment, intimidation, those slain journalists, their families, their welfare. And I think, whether we like it or not, it is a norm that in NUJ, at the National Secretariat, they always have a monitoring committee that normally monitors us, most especially during the electioneering period like this. They will definitely be monitoring journalists across the country. But I will, in as much as that may not be that much adequate, I would like to implore our members also to be very cautious during this period, because most of our members engage in a lot of muslinging, blackmail, propaganda, and when you are doing all this, the public may not accept this, and when they don't accept it, the response can come in any form. So we should be very cautious of whatever we are writing, of whatever we are saying these days, and we should adhere strictly to the rules, the regulations, and ethical standards, so that we won't be running foul of all these issues. And in the case of campaigns, I will implore our members, if you know you are not too cautious of yourself, going with campaign trail, you need to be very cautious. You need to ensure your own security first, because our security matters most in the line of duty. So you have to take your security as a priority. And when you are called for press conferences, That's why we usually preach this every election period, that any press conference you're going to do in a hidden place, you need to be very, very careful. Come to the town, do it openly. Let other people know that you are going somewhere, so that in the end, we won't be having recorded cases of missing journalists. So that is the only.
Let me quickly come to Mr. Goluwaje. There are these reports that for those that perpetrated harassment on journalists, violence against journalists, government officials, according to this report, are responsible for 74% of attacks, with the Nigerian police force being the primary offenders. Why would they still be attacking journalists? What do you think is responsible?
Well, thank you very much. First, there's a report that says that there are 3 agents that are responsible for the harassment of journalists: the state government, the security forces, and the big technology company. Those 3. But out of those 3, the one that is prominent in that obnoxious report.
Not even prominent, 90%.
I'm just trying to be conservative. I'm trying to be conservative. The one that is highly prominent is the security forces. The security forces. The security will include the police, the DSS, and the army. People say that journalists and security forces are the enemy. They are enemies. They are enemies. But mind you, they are not supposed to be enemies, because they are doing the same work of protecting, of elevating society. But unfortunately, anytime a police officer sees a journalist, he sees as somebody that is there to expose him. And mind you, that shouldn't be the case. That's not the way we are supposed to be seen. Because all of us are there to protect society, to ensure that society does not go aground, does not run down. Now, what are responsible for why security forces are responsible for the harassment of journalists? The fact that, sometimes some security forces are overzealous. Some are overzealous. Some of them are just, when they hear the word journalist, they don't want to hear. They don't want to hear at all.
Mr. Chairman, I was driving one day around.
They met, and there was an agreement between them. And this has to do with the individual heading a particular government agency. The new DSS Director General, I think, is a very friendly person with the media. And they had to come together, they had to sit down, and we were given directives from the National Secretariat that all state councils must visit the DSS office. So when we got to the DSS office on the courtesy visit, the DSS director here in Oyo State told us that there is this thing, because they feel that the job we are doing has a kind of relation with their own jobs also. And they want us to forge a common front, so that the space will be conducive for all of us. But I can say it boldly that even the issue of security agencies, intimidating journalists, doing all those things, I think is as a result, the most responsive people to journalists are the politicians and the government officials. They also make use of these security agencies. They paint us black before these security agencies. And the reason why they do all these things is because they have things to hide. Because they believe, okay, see the FOI Act. How many people, how many journalists in this country who say that they have gone out, they have implemented that FOI Act, and it has worked for them? Ever since that law was passed, I can tell you, you cannot get 10% of journalists in Nigeria who have successfully, why am I even saying 10%? Let me say 5%, who has implemented that law, who have gone to government circle, demand for information, and got that information using the FOI Act, they will still answer you.
And why is that the case, Chairman?
That is because they have things to hide. Those who have things to hide will never give you answers. And let's look at the environment we are operating also. We still have Official Secret Act within the government circle. The FOI Act is supposed to be what we'll be using against that Official Secret Act. And you see government officials tell you that that is official secret. It is what they use for this thing. It is confidential. They will use one word. I've forgotten that word. They always use it. They will classify it.
Classified information.
Classified information. They will tell you it's a classified information. They won't give you.
So now, Chairman, when we talk of the Freedom of Information Act now, and the other one not overruling, which is not supposed to overrule the FOI Act, but is overruling it, where do we go to for the implementation of these acts? Who do we speak to?
It is stated there. You have to go through a process. You can even approach the court.
I think you should run us through that process.
You can even approach the court.
Okay.
Once you try the person, once you write, and the higher authorities there, you have informed them. If the higher authorities are not forthcoming also, you approach the court. The court will now invoke that particular law on them to give you that information. But the truth about the matter is, you can only use it and gain what you want to gain from it if you are on investigation. If you are an investigative journalist, because investigative issues cannot be still. If I have a story that I must send tomorrow morning, and somebody is not giving me that information, that story is still. You cannot give me tomorrow in the evening when the story is already outside there. So those are some of the things we used to encounter.
Okay, I think we should come to Comrade Agbolo Ajay now. Still on this FOI Act, and as a practicing journalist, you've been on the field, you've seen. Now, how do you think these acts can be enforced, and why do you think? In that light, of course, we know sometimes it's because they do not want such information to be published. But how else do you think we can go about it as journalists to get information, especially classified information at that?
The law is plain to some extent. When you are doing a report, mostly you use FOI, as Chairman Ali said. You use FOI Act for investigative reports. To bring out some things that you think is in the public interest. Okay. Then when you apply, to every provision there is a proviso. When you apply, it's not that when you get it, give me FOIP, no. There are processes. You apply through those processes. When you apply, if the person you are talking to is not the right authority to give you, he will direct you to another desk. If the desk is not the right person to approve it, they will also direct you. That's why it takes a lot of time. But aside that, we realize that, Chairman said 10% of journalists are not be able to work to substantially use that act. Why? Because the process are due to this, and some government officials, they are covering information. They are concealing some information. When you realize that they don't want to give you that information, the acts allow you to go to court. You go to court to go and say that I've applied for this, I've fulfilled my own obligation. If you have not fulfilled your obligation, you don't have the right to approach the court, because the court will still send you back to the processing. You must have done your own right. Then when you observe that you are being frustrated, you can go to court. The court will have the final say for them to release that information. But sometimes, if the information you are looking for, it can undermine the security of the country, can undermine national unity. You may not be given. As I said, to every provision there is a proviso, and no law is absolute anywhere.
Now, let's ask ourselves, how many journalists? You have talked about poor remuneration or no remuneration for journalists. Is this service pro bono? How many journalists have what it takes? Because sometimes when we look at some of these laws, those are where we have lacunas that we need to go back and touch again. How many journalists have what it takes to go to court? Is it the resources? Are you going to get backing of your owners? That's when you start seeing some of your owners. By the time somebody calls them to say, he's looking for what he should not be looking for. And they'll say, did we send you to write our story? So I think we should begin to talk about, and that comes to chairman, how can we arrive at independent journalists? I'm not talking about freedom now. That as a journalist, yes, I work with this organization, but I have independence to work on stories.
And that is where the problem comes. Investigative journalism takes a lot of commitment, it takes courage, and it takes funding. So somebody who is not, who is poorly remunerated, say the little stipends that you collected from your employer, is that what we use to prosecute an investigative report? No. We have little, let me say little or no. Let me say, well, little, sha, because I know media organizations like Premium Times,
International Center for Investigative Reporting,
ICI,
Human Rights Agendas.
Yes, some of them are funding investigative reports, and they cannot be enough. Those ones cannot be enough, because when they are sponsoring it, when you even pitch, So if 10 of you are pitching, and at the end of the day only 5 were funded, seriously, you have to go back with your report and keep it and start pitching for another. Maybe you get fund somewhere else. But that is the difference between. That's the reason why I said I don't believe in all those rankings.
Really?
I don't believe in all those rankings. Do you know why I don't believe in it? Every nation has their own peculiarity. And if you want to judge, you cannot rank us same way. When you go to the US, you see an environment where investigative journalism is adequately funded.
Oh, okay.
Where it is adequately funded, people go for investigations, they bring it out, journalists are well remunerated. You understand? You cannot compare that environment with this environment.
Even the US journalists will agree to go to Sambisa for instance.
Yeah, you will go.
But would you be able to go to Sambisa?
You will give me that courage. I have my child at home, I have my wife at home, and I have to take care of them. And will I now just give myself that courage of going to Sambisa without taking care of my own family also?
But Chairman, apart from courage now, let's also look at the issue of safety, security. We are seeing what's happening in Nigeria, talking of the insecurity we are currently facing. And, we have journalists who are going to the northern region to cover most of these stories. But of course, we also talk about their safety. Now, when we have stories like that being investigated, when we have places like that being, journalists are going to, how do we secure? Who are those that should be talking of their safety? Do they go with security personnel, or are they supposed to go with security personnel in that light? And this is also to talk about remuneration, poor remuneration of journalists. Chairman, please go ahead before we go to Comrade.
Except those people who live in that particular state. Let me say, take for instance, Borno. There are journalists in Borno who are residents in that particular state. They cover their stories. They can also get they can also get reports within that enclave. But those that follows all these soldiers, they do specialized reporting. They've been trained. They go with security personnel. They don't just go. You can't just stand up and just walk into Sambisa and say you are a journalist, you are here to cover.
You carry your ID card?
No, not even your ID card. They wear bulletproof. They wear all those things. Some of them even wear camouflage at times. They give them camouflage. They wear, they go. That is why I do tell my people, when they write stories that has to do with security agencies, those stories, if you are a specialized reporter in that particular field, you will know the rudiments. You don't just release information just anyhow. They have a way of communicating, even with the army. There are times the army will tell you don't report anything. Okay, take for instance a journalist who wrote that the army will bombard the terrorist enclave tomorrow.
I mean, he's already bombarded.
No, he has already leaked the story.
Divulged the information.
Yes.
And that's also to talk about
And he has
discretion of
already
journalists.
put the army that is going there, he has already put them in jeopardy because those people will be expecting them. So you don't release that information until that action is taken.
Okay.
So you have to leave. If I have people who are seriously interested in specialized reporting, and that is the area I will also recommend for all these bloggers. All these bloggers.
Who do copy and paste?
When you have a website, you decide I want to start running my own website. There should be your unique selling point. Understand? If you want to focus on crime, understand? Be a specialized reporter. Write on crime, so that anybody that is looking for crime stories will definitely go for your site. You will know that, okay, if I want to get concrete information and truth on crime, let me go to so particular platform. That is what is selling today. Some have chosen to be sports writers, and they write sports. Well, that is all they write, sports, and they know their website to be a site of. If you want to do general stories, be truthful. Stop lifting stories. You understand? Make sure you write truthful stories. Be accurate, so that people will know that your platform, you can get accurate stories there. So you have carved a niche for yourself, and people will definitely follow you.
Okay. Still on what he's talking about, but I want to take it to Comrade Agbolu Aje now, talking of accuracy and discretion of journalists. Just as Chairman said, when you need to publish a story about military activities, discretion should tell you should not publish, even when you have a hold of the information. You should not publish this before the act is carried out. But where does this leave accuracy, media trust, and discretion?
How do we strike a balance?
How do we strike a balance? Yes, between
accuracy,
all. Yes.
And national security.
And also timeliness.
Timeliness. Anyway, depend on the kind of report you are doing. So if you are doing investigative reports, timeliness may not come, immediacy may not come in this case. But balance, strike a balance between accuracy and national security. Well, while we are trying to be balanced, we must also look at national security. You can only practice as a journalist when you have a country. You can only practice as a journalist when the country is safe. If the country is not safe, you can't practice. Even you are the delegate of this world. If the country is in trouble, you can't practice. Then we must uphold national security. Any report that will undermine national security, you must not do it. For instance, the report the chairman mentioned that somebody, is it chairman that mentioned, somebody mentioned it, there's a report, somebody they wrote a report that they want to bombard, army want to bombard certain enclave. No, that is indiscretion on the part of journalists that wrote such a story. Even that journalist should be questions. Probably is a sympathizer to those people, because you are giving them some privileged information that may even shatter the country, that may even lead to loss of lives, not just of loss of life, loss of the life of generals. The last time I appeared here, we talked about generals that died. We don't know whether the information that was leaked by some people was the one that killed them. Then when you are writing your report, when you are striking for balance or accuracy, you must have at the back of your mind that national security is very important. It's of paramount importance to anything you are doing.
And that brings us to the social responsibility in a journalist must be socially responsible in the ethics. Social responsibility has to do with anything that will create tension, that will cause trouble within a particular society. You have, as a journalist, you have to be very, very conscious of that, of whatever you want to write.
Such information.
You cannot incite the public. You can't even incite. Please, we need to be up and doing, and we need to adhere strictly to the to ethical standards, so that we won't be running foul of all this. There are so many situations where journalists have created tension within the society by reporting what is not supposed to be out there. See, you understand? So we need to uphold that our social responsibility law.
Okay, Chairman, first and foremost, I want to ask, don't you think we should have a register in, for instance, Oyo State Council of journalists that have been assaulted, maimed, injured, as a way of record documentation? And I also want to ask, register of journalists. We see many organizations who do not allow their members to unionize for whatever reasons. But as we enter the election year, don't you think this is important for us to have a register and know everybody? We've seen cases where somebody would die, and by the time the reports come and said, it's supposed to be a journalist, just doing program. It's just this in a station. Can we have a register of people who are practicing journalism, whether they are registered or unregistered, but they're in your states? Is it possible we begin to, take care of, begin to know our members, have their contacts, have information about them?
That's the twin question. And the first one is, let me answer the first one. At the council level, we are already on our database. We are already collating the database, and I'm sure that before the middle of this year, we will definitely have a comprehensive database, because we don't want it's a multi-purpose thing. It will be useful for us when it comes to welfare, when it comes to election, and when it comes to, because we don't want to have a rancorous situation when the time of election comes, that somebody will now be streamlining the list. We have a database, and we know the entire journalists we have in Oyo State. And to come to think of issues of harassment, we already have, it's in the pipeline, and it will definitely come very soon. We are setting up a body, like a monitoring committee, that we have in the state, and it will cascade to the chapel level. The chapels will be mandated to have like three members who will be on that committee, so that when they go out, when issues like that happens, they will report to the committee at the state level, so that the information will get to us quickly, and we'll be able to come out to survey the situation. So that's another plan that we have, and very soon we'll be setting up the committee, hopefully by the next Congress.
But so far, Chairman, do we have, let's talk of statistics now. How many number of journalists are you currently, or cases are you currently handling in terms of harassment?
Well, I don't think personally.
Since you assumed office?
Since I assumed office, I've not seen any reported case of harassment, intimidation, or humiliation. Because at the first Congress, it was reported, it was directed that any case of humiliation or harassment, they should get to us as quick as possible, so that we'll be able to stand up for that situation. But I can only say the one we have, we don't need to talk it here.
Okay.
We don't need to discuss that one on here. It is an in-house thing, and we are already on it. We are to ensure a peaceful atmosphere in the end.
Okay, Chairman, let's even look at what are the plans for NUJ? We know that there are bodies when elections are drawing closer. They usually have partnership with the NUJ to train journalists on press freedom, to train journalists on how to go about the duties during election. Are there plans on ground?
Yes, we already have an agreement with the INEC, so that we'll be having training for our members. And we've discussed that it is going to be in 2 or 3 batches when we have it before the election. And the REC has agreed and has promised that he will definitely do that for us. And we are also working on how to meet with the security agencies to have a kind of summit where journalists and security agencies will acquaint ourselves with the roles of each and every one of us, so that when we go on the election day, there won't be any form of intimidation. And we are going to have a uniform card that we will discuss with both the security agencies and INEC, because we feel most times when the election comes like this, we have 33 local governments in Oyo State, and to cover all the 33 local governments, at the end of the day, you see when we apply for accreditation, you can apply. Sometimes you apply for 30 cards, you get 15. Sometimes you apply for, and you have 30 journalists truly. Some will be going out without that accreditation tag. So we'll talk to INEC, we'll see a way around it. How, if some are having it, maybe those who will be on the field roaming about, they can definitely have the accreditation, while those within the system, those who are static at a particular area, will have the NUJ card that we will design and we'll give them, and we'll show it to INEC. We'll let the security agency also see it, so that journalists within Oyo State will have opportunity of monitoring and covering the election. And we are looking at a situation whereby it will be another opportunity for us to separate the quacks.
I was coming there. As you're answering that, let me quickly ask you, have you identified fake journalists in your state?
We have some that we know very well.
It's not just about knowing them. It has become a trend in your state.
Yes.
That when we know some of these fakes, we see them and we allow them to thrive. And they kill the profession. Away from citizen journalism, what are you going to do to put it in documentation and let the world know that these are fake journalists?
But you know, some of our people are also culprit in it. They are the one encouraging this thing. How? Because when I go to a particular place, if I meet someone who is not a journalist over there, it is my duty to accost the person and report it immediately.
But Chairman, I think this also brings us back to...
Some will go to events, meet all these fake journalists, they won't report to anybody, and they will leave them. Once they continue to have free days, they will continue to be encouraged. If you want to discourage that thing, once they are arrested, definitely it sends a signal to others who want to copy them.
So are you saying that if you get to know of any, you're willing to take the right step?
Yes, we will. Report it to us, and we'll get the person arrested.
But I think this is not just about journalists. I think even the public should also know that they should.
The public should also. The public, when you are relating with people, most especially those. Let me say, it usually happens when we have electioneering like this. You see people go to meet some politicians, they will just sit down with them, talk to them, and politicians who are, let me say, how do I call them?
Don't call them names. Just
no, I'm not using a negative, negative name for them.
Some journalists,
some of them will just meet journalists. They won't even ask for their identity, and you just be talking to them, believing that you are talking to a journalist. A journalist must be known. You must know a journalist. There are so many people on here, talking on here, doing a lot of things, and are not journalists. That is the truth. Me, I don't hide these things. When I see someone, when I ask, and someone tells me this also person is a journalist, I tell them immediately, he's not a journalist.
But Chairman, I think this brings me back to the initial question I asked, who is a journalist? Because when we talk of fake journalists and they're real journalists in quotes now, and you mentioned earlier that you are trying to accommodate them into the union. And I'm talking of those who have been practicing as bloggers now, the new media. Now, when we talk of fake journalists, who are the fake journalists? Especially if they have been practicing. And I know you mentioned it's not just by certification, by training, by practice. Now, for those who have been practicing for, let's say 5, 6, 7 years, They know the rudiments of journalism already. How does that qualify them to be a fake journalist?
That is the reason why you see that in NUJ, they are also welcome. We embrace them, we encourage them. And that is the reason why we give some of them associate members. You understand? Because we know that they have that training, but they don't have that certificate. You understand? But not all journalists are members of NUJ. We have journalists, thoroughbred ones. But by virtue of the organization they work with, they are not members of NUJ. Take, for instance, Tudiola, who is my friend. He works, he's a journalist, he's a thoroughbred journalist, he's certificated, but he works with an agency, a media house that is not chapelized under the NUJ. You understand? But that does not say that I will see Tudiola and will not recognize Tudiola as a journalist. Another thing that can give you clarity when you go out there, there's nobody that will come from BCOS today. I will meet the person outside. The person will bring out his ID card. And I will see BCOS on it. And I will call him a fake journalist. No, I won't. Seriously. Some are not working in non-media houses. Seriously. If you are not working in a reputable media house and you are out there, maybe you are applying your trade yourself, you also should be you familiarize yourself with journalists, with the real journalists in the state. We have bloggers now who are out there. They have their website, they are writing stories, you understand? But they are familiar to us. We know them one-on-one. And we know those who parade, they even cover naming ceremony.
Okay, we'll come back to some of that later. Do you think that in this era, we can ever be free in this profession? Doctors are free, lawyers are free to practice.
Chairman doesn't seem to agree to that.
Doesn't agree that
I don't agree.
Free to practice.
I don't agree.
In an hospital.
I don't agree.
Why is that? Why don't you agree?
You see, we discussed it the other time. We said freedom is when you are well remunerated. That is the major thing. Because livelihood, they go on strike every day now.
But that doesn't mean they don't get
because they believe they are poorly paid. That is why they go on strike.
They can't say they are poorly paid inside the journalists. You won't tell them when they come.
Listen, madam, yeah. They are in that profession.
Yes.
Only people who are in a profession can tell you when he or she is well remunerated. If they are not well remunerated, they will tell you they are not well remunerated. We used to hold on first. We used to criticize them anytime they go on strike. That doctor
with the amount they are collecting,
their wala is too much. Some of them will go for morning shift, say afternoon, evening, and they collect huge amount of money. But those doctors are telling you that they are still not well paid.
Chairman, let me quickly ask you. Most of the time when they go on strike, they come here to tell us the reason why they're on strike is not because of their salary, monthly salary, over hazard allowance. Do you even get allowance, let alone hazard?
That's why I'm saying.
So when I say independence or freedom within some profession, you can't put the media profession side by side with other professions.
Do you know the reason why they are asking for that hazard allowance?
So I quite understand their good work is
because they want the money to be raised. No, they want it improved. Like we that are working with federal government agencies now, we do collect some allowances, peculiar allowance, clinical allowance. We do see all those allowances. But despite that fact, I earn more than 200,000 in a month. But despite the fact that I earn more than 200,000, I'm still not well remunerated.
What does the economic situation of the country? So what does a good remuneration for a journalist look like? Or should be?
We have to sit down.
We are talking of Ibadan now.
We have to sit down and talk. We have to sit down. We have to sit down. The management and we, the workers, we have to sit down and discuss the living condition of that
But
environment.
Chairman, so far, how have you been able to fight for journalists? I mean, we've all recognized or established the fact that journalists are poorly paid in your state. What have you, or are not even paid? Some are owed as, a 5-month, 6-month salary, not been paid. What have you been doing, or what have you done about that so far?
Despite the fact that we will go out there fighting for journalists, but I know one thing. We've been fighting from time immemorial. Going to meet government, they are not well paid. Going to media houses, they are not well paid. You understand? We've been doing that. And it is high time we continue to empower our members also. We need to start telling our members to find other way. No. It may not be trading. That was the reason why we brought the AI training that time. Because we believe we can only empower our members by training them, not giving them rice every New Year, every Christmas. If I give you rice this Christmas, you will be waiting for rice next Christmas. Are you not going to sustain your livelihood before that next Christmas? So that is why we need to empower ourselves. Okay, this is AI. A 75-year-old sitting somewhere. He's sitting in his home, in his comfort zone, in his home, doing 1 or 2 things remotely, and he's earning money. So if our members also have that knowledge, they can sit down elsewhere. By the time you leave work today and you go home, you sit down and you start doing something. We were discussing some days back, me and Auntie Buki, Sister Buki Owolabi. We were discussing, and she told me that when she wanted to send out invitation for her birthday, she had to sit down. She brought out her phone, and she remembered that she got AI knowledge somewhere else, and she started doing the invitation by herself, and she did it herself, and she started sending it, and it was very, very colorful, very nice invitation card. I can take job from any other person and do the invitation card for them and collect my own money.
Let's go to comment.
Yes.
As we wrap up, this segment, because we still have one more segment. What do you think NUJ? Don't look at the chairman's face. What do you think NUJ should do more for journalists in Nigeria, especially in Oyo State? No, Oyo State is.
He's also part of us.
No, don't worry.
He's the secretary of correspondence.
What do you think that NUJ can do more?
Well, for any society to develop, human capital development is very important. A human capital can come through education and empowerment. Then, for any human being to change his society, to change his story, he needs to be empowered. I think that's what the NUJ is doing. If you are empowered, you have more skills, you can.
Don't worry, we know where he's doing. Tell us more. You want? It's not because chairman.
As I said, the most important thing any human being can do for himself.
Or maybe you should look at reforms, urgent reforms that we need.
Are you trying
any reform that you any reform
an agitation?
Any reform you are doing without human capital development, you just wasted your time.
So it's only about human capital.
It's very basic.
For me, don't worry. I'm sure because chairman.
It's very basic. Empowerment is very basic.
Yes, and you have to come back.
What I know is that he will never say that we should start sharing money. He will never encourage us to start sharing rice.
Okay, so health insurance is also important, but these are
you see, yes.
Even health you talk about is also part of human capital development.
You could have mentioned it.
No. When
maybe
you talk about
break
human,
it down for us to understand what you mean by human capital
when
development.
you talk about human capital development, it has 2 legs: education and health. If you are healthy, if you have health, good health, you can be productive. And when you are healthy, then you need to have the right skills. Every human being is the same without the skills. What differentiates one human being from another is the kind of capacity and capability you possess. Without capacity, a human being is useless. And for us to be useful for the society, for ourselves, for the country, the NUJ is empowering us. I'll give them kudos for doing that.
Okay, well, we've been given enough time to continue on this conversation. So I think we should come to Chairman now, talking of urgent reforms. I know you've talked about the FOI Act. We've talked a lot about it, but it feels like a lot of journalists might not even have an idea of it, of how to go about it. What other reforms? Number one, how can they use the FOI Act judiciously in carrying out their daily duties? I'm talking of investigative journalists now. And also, what urgent reforms should we begin to talk about in improving journalists and, of course, promoting press freedom in Nigeria?
Like when we were preparing our details for the kind of trainings we want to be having for our members, we already wrote it there that there will be training on ethics, there will be training on AI, there will be training on the use of FOI Act. So we will definitely come to that very soon because we'll be having training for members on FOI Act, the usage. But the truth about it is, not every journalist is interested in that because majority of the journalists we have in Oyo State are not investigative journalists.
That's not true.
Majority. I said majority. I'm not saying everybody. I said majority. Because somebody that is looking for money, yes, somebody that is looking for money will not go for any investigation. Once you step out, and you meet the person you are investigating, the story is dead. Because once the person identifies that your problem is money, he will definitely solve it that way.
Chairman, let's quickly look at
No, that is the truth.
No, I'm not
we need to start to tell ourselves the truth so that we'll continue to improve.
Okay, Chairman, in the light of investigation, I think some of these trainings too, you can indicate that if you're interested, you are an investigator.
Yes.
Now, away from that, Chairman, we have seen that in many organizations, BCOS is one organization that, if you look at the caliber of people, organogram, you see that a lot of women are in top positions in BCOS. So we are a good example for other organizations. What are you doing to see that women are allowed in position of leadership?
Position of leadership?
Yes, in media organizations.
Women are not bad.
To encourage, I'm talking about encouragement, to be intentional about it. Some women have the skills, the ability and the capability to lead, even in the NUJ. So what are we doing to encourage more women to be in position of leadership?
You see, I can only say that when it comes to a profession that has
Chairman, look at me, you have changed position.
that has hazards, the hazards is what is scaring most of our women. Take for instance, when we talk about politics also, you see that women are just agitating for 35% affirmative action, 35% clinical. But it is not because nobody is bearing them from contesting. Nobody is bearing them from contesting. There are people who have contested elections and have excelled. You understand? But what I think is because of the let me say the tense atmosphere in electioneering and in party politics, it is what is carrying most women away from that.
Chairman, would you say they are scared or intimidated?
They are not intimidated.
Because, I mean, you talked about the hazards now.
Men intimidate men too.
We've seen a lot of professions where, it's termed hazardous, and we see a lot of women going into such professions.
Yes, we see women that are courageous. They will definitely excel. Any woman, let me tell you, men, we have men that are like women. When they see politics today, they run through this door, the next door. Because they don't want to venture into it, because they don't like wahala. The problem in politicking is too much. So it is only women that are very, very courageous and determined that you will see on the field. Plying that trade. Nobody will definitely. If there are men who don't ply that trade.
So I'm not saying. So how do you want to encourage them? Now you have identified.
I think
we've been doing that. We've been doing that, and the reason why we've been doing that is when you see that even within NUG, we have women that contested elections. You understand? And those women Well, maybe along the line they were disqualified because they don't know the rudiments. You understand? But we said, okay, if we are returning people through the by-election, we are going to put back these women. And we brought them on board. That is another form of encouragement. Okay. That is to show that we are not gender biased.
Okay. I want us to take that same question now to Comrade Agboluaje, but let us also look at it in light of what a man can do, a woman can do better, and even much more. Now, how can we as journalists encourage women? How can we use our platforms? How can we use our platforms to encourage women, to vie for such positions without fear of intimidation or
at the NUJ level or in the country?
Country generally.
Well, we've had a lot of women in this country that done fantastically well in the political cycle. Even whether we like it or not, a woman has become a governor in this country. Some people may disagree, but we have Virgin Etiaba in Anambra State, who was the deputy governor to Peter Obi. And when Peter Obi was impeached, he became the governor. She became the governor. Then the record is there that a woman has become a governor in this country. Then in Taraba, we had Mama Taraba that was almost becoming the governor. In the neighboring Adamawa State, we have Binani, the woman that just defected to NDC yesterday. Then those are people that have made a strong statement in the political sphere. Even in this media industry, we have a lot of Amazon in this industry. We have Kamari Ahmed. We have a lot of people that have made their mark in this industry. The woman, I don't think they are not doing well. They are doing well, but we are also encouraging them. For this time in our chapel, we have a woman as part of our executive. We brought her in when we are doing our by-election. It means we also love women to be part of our leadership.
Tell us that you are following the footsteps of the chairman.
Yeah, absolutely. We are not.
Absolutely. Comrade, Chairman, I want us to talk about 2027 election now. I know earlier you talked about your collaboration with INEC and some security agencies, but I want us to vividly look at the issue of security agencies now and the unified tag you mentioned. I remember the last election, major election we had in Oyo State here. Some of us had tags. We had a tag. We had our personal ID card for organizations we were also working for. And we were not allowed through. I'm talking of through the roadblocks now. Despite we had our, the unified tags, despite the fact that we had our ID cards, we were still not permitted. It took a lot of phone calls. It was just too stressful. How do we ensure we do not go through that in the coming election, 2027?
And that is why I said the other time that before we print those unified cards, we will involve INEC and involve the security agencies. Once we have the Nigerian Army, we have what's it called? The
DSS,
police, the DSS, and civil defense. When we have all of them involved, they will definitely have a copy of that particular card. And once they know the particular card, you understand, then it will be very easy for them to identify immediately. They will tell their officers, when immediately they see that kind of card, they should know that they should be passed. So we will definitely ensure that uniformity so that there won't be any problem.
As we wind down gradually, let me first come to Comrade Agboluaje. If you look at the journalism profession on it, we're having upcoming journalists, from various tertiary institutions. Now, how do you think they can be unified? Because some of the AI opportunities that are out there for journalists now, I'm sorry, maybe some lecturers in the academics may not also be acquainted with the reality. They're only being taught theory. How can we begin to infuse the practical into the theoretical so that when they come out, of course, they're top-notch?
First and foremost, we need to overhaul our curriculum. And there's what we call town and GAN relationship. The GAN need to be relating with the GAN. When you are in the town, you are the GAN, you need to come and impart. You are coming back to the town. Then, for you to be useful and effective, you need to have the town experience. What I'm saying is there should be a partnership between the academia and the profession.
Take for instance, we recently went to Ajayi Crowder and we had a collaboration which will be coming up hopefully by end of this month. And it's a kind of training that we want to partner on so that members of journalists, let me say mass comm students from that institution, those in the 300 and 400 level, those who are already moving out of the institution will be acquainted with what we normally experience on the field.
Are we expecting more training, Chairman, for journalists in your state also?
We are supposed to be having training. Our trainings, we are supposed to be having it every month.
Okay.
We didn't have in the month of April because of several other activities that we have. Hopefully, by the end of this month, we definitely have one.
All right. Comrade Agboluaje, as we wind down on this segment this morning, I want you to speak to journalists in your states, in Nigeria particularly, talking of their safety, welfare, and of course, press freedom. What would you have to say to journalists?
Well, I will emphasize more on safety. Like one of my editors will say, don't perish with the story. Yes, you can only be promoted to know the ultimate aim of every journalist is to become an editor or director or head a media agency. You can only get to that position when you are alive. Any story that can take your life, don't go after that story. You must be conscious of your life. You must be alive first before you are enjoying life. Don't perish with the story. As you are doing the story, be mindful of your work, of your security and safety.
All right, Chairman.
Thank you so much.
Your message for journalists in your state, Nigeria, on the World Press Freedom Day.
I will just say, let me first align with what he has just said, and I will say in the line, even if we are to have a free press in Nigeria, we still need to protect our lives. That is one. Number two, I want to encourage those who are not familiar with the ethics of this profession. As journalists, they should familiarize themselves with the ethics of the profession and they should adhere strictly to ethical standards. And as we are moving into the electioneering time period, I will also want to tell our members again, because we will continue to repeat this, I will continue to tell them, please, whatever story, you know that, don't say because you want to make money, you want to sustain livelihood, you now turn yourself to a tool for blackmail and propaganda. You should be very, very careful. And whatever anybody that sees any issue, any form of humiliation, harassment, or intimidation, they should report to the State Council immediately.
Thank
so that we'll be able to work on it.
Thank you.
It's been a great time
Yes.
on the program this morning, Saturday special. And we want to sincerely appreciate our guests in the studio. We have been discussing ahead of the World Press Freedom Day State of Nigeria Media. We must first thank Comrade Rotimi Agboluaje, who is the Secretary Correspondent Chapel of Oyo State. The chairman was here yesterday, so you only came after the
Yes, I'm aware.
Okay,
Yes.
it's good to have you.
Thank you for giving us the platform. Thank you.
Thank you very much on behalf of our producers and crew member. To our own chairman, the chairman of chairmen, the number one journalist in Oyo State, Comrade Hakeem Abbas, Chairman NUJ, Nigerian Union of Journalists, Oyo State Council. On behalf of all of us, including the chairman of BCOS, the producers and the crew member, we want to thank you for coming. We appreciate you for the light you have shared on issues, and we want to wish you, on behalf of everyone, a happy celebration ahead of tomorrow. All right, on this note, we want to also appreciate those on the entourage of the chairman. First is the Secretary of the State Council, Comrade Adu. And
treasurer.
of course,
We have the treasurer.
He's the man carrying all the bad demo. He's the treasurer of the council, Comrade Moses. And we also have our own chairman,
in-house chairman, yes.
He's also here to support.
Comrade Demola Babalola.
Yes, to support the chairman.
Balogun, I beg your pardon.
So we want to thank everyone and all the NUJ members that are here this morning. We want to thank everyone. I would say, have a great weekend. My name is Jade Sola Ajibola.
And I will say, as we celebrate World Press Freedom Day tomorrow, remember, don't perish with the story.
I am Oluwafunbi Bello, saying have a nice weekend.